Let's see.
This morning, we have new information on a U.S. citizen arrested in Haiti in connection with last week's presidential assassination. A U.S. law enforcement source tells CBS News that Joseph Vincent was indeed a confidential informant for the Drug Enforcement Administration on and off for several years. Our source also says he was not involved with the DEA at the time of this attack. Mola Langui is in Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, with more on the story. Mola, good morning to you.
Well, good morning. Vincent was one of about 30 people and one of 3 living in Florida that Haitian police say played a role in President Moïse's assassination. He claims he was there simply as a translator. As you mentioned, we now know.
Yeah, he was just a translator, dude. Translators always say, hey, we're with the DEA when they're doing an assassination. It's something that translators just simply do, you know? Oh, man, I was just a translator, which is why I yelled that I was a fucking federal officer in the process of assassinating the fucking Haitian president. Another suspicious part of this process is the fact that not a single one of the bodyguards of the Haitian president at the time were harmed. Like, it makes no sense. I mean, this is a fucking setup, dude. 100%.
Know that he previously had ties to the U.S. government as an informant. President Jovenel Moïse was gunned down by assailants claiming to be members of the DEA exactly 1 week ago. We now know one of those men, 55-year-old Haitian American Joseph Vincent, previously worked for the DEA as an informant. The Drug Enforcement Administration denies any involvement with the assassination. Former DEA agent Mike Vigil has worked with informants in Haiti, but he had not worked with Vincent.
These are individuals that are usually engaged in criminal activities, but we use them because they can provide very valuable information on the activities of criminal groups, the organizational hierarchy of these groups as well.
Haitian police remain focused on another Florida resident they arrested, Christian Sanon, who they say was a key player in the assassination. We spoke to Haitian professor Michel Planchet, who confirmed reports that he and Sanon spoke as recently as last month.
Is Christian Sanon the fucking doctor? This is a really interesting figure. The one that, yeah, he is the doctor. Okay, he's a pastor out of Florida who got on a fucking private jet. I thought he was also a doctor. Is this not the fucking doctor? Yeah, he is a medical doctor, or at least on social media, he considers himself to be he presents himself as a medical doctor and Christian minister who's providing leadership for Haiti throughout a life of positive action and absolute integrity. This dude was on a fucking private jet with some of the people, if I'm not mistaken. Christian Emmanuel Sanon, a Haiti-born 62-year-old who's been living in Florida for more than 2 decades, helped recruit the group of some 24 people who stormed Haiti's presidential palace on July 7th and served as a middleman to the unnamed masterminds of the operation. Haiti's police chief Leon Charles said he believed a high-profile doctor had hired a Miami-based security firm, which had in turn hired a group made up of mostly Colombian former soldiers to carry out the operation. On Sunday, Charles identified Sanon by name, said he had arrived in Haiti in June with political motivations, traveling on a private jet with several of the alleged perpetrators of the shooting. A Florida-based friend of Sanon told AP that the pastor had been duped by people claiming to represent the U.S. State and Justice Departments who wanted to install him as president. Sanon had believed the plan was to arrest but not kill Moise, the friend claimed. What is also remarkable in this situation is that these motherfuckers, like they were in and out. Like, they were very efficient at murdering, but then they didn't escape the country, which makes no sense. Why wouldn't you try to run away after doing an assassination on the president? Like, who the fuck does that? It's just like every part of this story is incredibly sus, dude. This is among us through and through. You got an unpopular president being assassinated. None of the bodyguards are harmed in the process. These guys present themselves as DEA agents falsely. Okay. There's Americans involved, like American Haitians involved in the process. It's just like, it's built like a fucking movie, dude. Also, remember Barbecue, who people thought was a lumpen parole turned revolutionary Marxist-Leninist? Barbecue is vowed to avenge the death of the president. So that's kind of strange. If he was so anti the Haitian government, you know, rising up to lead a proletarian revolution, then why the fuck is he vowing to avenge the death of the person who he, in a actual proletarian uprising, would want to murder himself? Kind of curious.
And that Sanon told him he was on a mission to replace Moïse, and that Moise would be resigning soon.
Moise.
Blanchet denies any involvement.
Here at the Prime Minister's residence, the acting head of government is requesting patience in the investigation. The question
The fuck? This dude's just planted outside of his house? That's crazy.
is how much patience, as fear and instability continue to rise here. Do you feel safe here?
No. No, I don't think anyone feels safe.
Kalinda Maguire builds clean-burning stoves for Haitians who are living in poverty. She told us she has no plans to leave, despite the political chaos.
There's a lot of people here that, regardless of who is holding the political power, are willing to work for their country and make changes happen. I think that's what's important to highlight.
You want to be here and you want to be part of the change.
Exactly.
Well, here in Haiti's capital, the U.S. government making its presence known. A dozen Marines were sent in to beef up security here at the U.S. Embassy as the investigation into the assassination continues.